We have a very special edition of Indigenous Circle again tonight with Donna Sound, with what has to be one of the most spectacular backdrops in the world. Donna, you and I both got up here tonight and just looking at the colonnade and the saints, but it's what happened inside there today that is the focus of this whole week. And I know you've spoken to so many who were in with the face-to-face meetings with the Pope. What was the overriding impression?
Well, they were, in awe, just as we are now being here, and just being in that grandiose room. Survivors were telling me that they were just in awe just of being there and being in his presence and him listening and showing, expressions of concern and listening to them. And the Métis met with him, as we know, first, and he said only 3 words in English, and those words is truth, justice,
I love
and
that.
healing.
First of all, I love that you've written it on your hand. That's brilliant. There's just so much going on here, that we use everything we have to keep notes when we're on a trip like this, including our hands.
So truth, justice, and healing, and that's what they want, and that's what all the survivors here want. And so when the Inuit met with him, their main message was, they want justice. There is the
priest in France that is alleged to have been a known perpetrator. Is this the priest you're talking about?
Yes, that's him. And they asked for the Pope to help them get him back to Canada to face criminal charges. They said, why should he be walking around as a free person when he ruined the lives of so many children? And
I think that's one of the takeaways from the conversations I also had, is that this was all about listening for the Pope, and this is just the first day. And then I imagine, the almost exhalation after, first of all, jet lag. Everyone just got here. A lot of people I spoke to were so nervous about today, they hadn't really slept. And then that feeling when they walked into the square after their meeting was pretty powerful.
So powerful. And then their messages that they gave to His Holiness was just a relief to them. And look, he's finally listening, right? So, their end goal, of course, is getting that official apology and the release of those documents that are believed to be hiding somewhere in there.
Well, we did learn something today. We have a bit of news on that front. We've learned that at that press conference that the documents are actually not inside the Vatican behind me. They're they believe, in the Oblates archives, which is about 10 blocks from here. So that was a bit of a clarification, I thought, today on where are those secret school records. And these records would hold what? Ages, birth, death dates, pregnancies, all kinds of things.
Yeah, food and lack thereof, and the sickness of kids. And there are there's talk of one child getting vaccinated, polio vaccinated 5 times. With the marks, why were they doing that? So there's thinking that kids in these institutions were being used for some experiment.
Wow, there's just so much. And these documents will answer so many questions. So that was a question at the press conference today, and the bishop, Quebec bishop, did say, we have to be very careful in the releasing of these documents, but they seem very committed to releasing it. But on that question, there is such a mental health component to all of this. Just being here for some people is almost a re-traumatizing or a relief. It depends on the person. But you had a great conversation today with someone who's focused directly on that subject.
Yes, and she's here to support the survivor. She's a mental health support worker, and she's in the meetings. She'll be in the meetings with the survivors, just on the side in case one of them needs to some counseling while in there. If they need to, some may break down. She said, we don't know what could happen, but she needs to be there.
Wow.
Just because it could be, just too traumatizing.
Absolutely. And I just want to say one more thing about, you talk about the trauma, and it's so true, but I met Angie Creer today, who, one of the most inspiring women I've ever met. You know, she's over her trauma. She said, it took me 60 years. She's 85 years old. She said she saw the Pope and she wanted to give him a big hug, and it was really powerful. She said, my family is the most important thing to me, and we own our future. It was very powerful to get that thought from someone who's been through her own trauma. But I actually have to ask you, because I can't ignore the stunning piece you're wearing tonight. That is a beautiful piece of Indigenous art.
Thank
jewelry.
you. It was by a young woman made on my reserve, Sagmuk, Anishinaabe First Nation, and so I hope she's watching.
It's pretty
tonight.
powerful that you're wearing it right here for this historic week.
It is, and you know, it signifies and symbolizes that, you know, our traditions are still here, and they're still, you know, we're still doing it.
Still
right?
strong. All right, Donna, thanks so much.
Thank
That's
you.
another special edition of Indigenous Circle.